Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining. My name is Sarah Hailstones, and I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Politics Project. Welcome to our voter registration live lesson. Really excited to be able to talk to you this morning. So you might be asking yourself, why am I talking to you today? Now, as some of you may already know, the general election is happening on the 4th of July, which is in just a couple of weeks away. This is your chance to choose someone within your local area to represent you. They will become your local MP, which means Member of Parliament, and they'll work together with other MPs across the country to make decisions that will impact your life in the UK. Decisions that are important and impact you directly. Now, during this really quick little live lesson, I'm going to be talking to you about the point and the purpose of voting in the upcoming election. Introduce some policies and ideas that might impact you. And also talk to you about the process of registering and how to do that, and also how to vote in the election. Now, before we get started, I'd like to ask you a quick question. And I know it's morning, so let's wake up those brains. Let's have a little think about, what do you think of when you hear the word politics? What do you think of? There's no right, there's no wrong. Whatever you think is your opinion and is completely right. So have a little think. What do you think of? I'll give you a moment. Now, I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of young people across the UK, and I've heard a lot of different things. We do hear a lot of positive things. Politics is something that can positively impact my life. It's my way of making my voice heard. It's my way of expressing what I stand for. But to be honest, we also hear quite a lot of negative stuff as well. So we hear people say, politics is boring. Politics is confusing. Politics doesn't affect me. And as I say, all of these opinions are completely valid. Politics it's a really sometimes overwhelming thing. But the truth is, politics impacts you. Whether you engage with politics or not, it impacts you. And as we speak at this very moment, there are people making decisions that impact your life and your future. And we at the Politics Project, we think it's incredibly important that you get a chance to say what you think and what you believe in. I'm just going to share my screen here. So we believe that every single voice matters. How would you feel if I told you that in 2019, which was the last time that we had a general election, 74% of people aged 65 and over voted? They had their voice heard, whereas only 47% of young people aged 18 to 24 voted. Take that in for a moment. Look at the difference of that number. That means that people that are 65 and over are being represented. Their priorities are being heard and being addressed. Things are being made in order to impact their lives. But who, if not you, is speaking up on your behalf? And that's why we think it's really important that you guys get a say. Now, you might be asking, who can I vote for? There are so many different political parties. In fact, in this upcoming election, there are 98 different parties and 459 independent candidates, right? That's a lot. But here we've compiled for you some of the big major parties, and I'll just briefly take you through them so you get a little sense of who is representing you at the moment. So we have the Conservative Party. They are often referred to as the Tories, and they are our current government and have been in power for the last 14 years, which is actually most of your life, which is kind of crazy to think about. We also have the Green Party. We have the Labour Party. We have the Liberal Democrats. We have Plaid Cymru, who are a Welsh party and they stand in Wales. We also have the Reform Party. And we also have the SNP, which stands for the Scottish National Party, and they stand up in Scotland. There are also other candidates in Northern Ireland, and as I mentioned, there are lots of independent candidates as well. That means that they don't stand for a political party and they just speak for themselves and hope that other people share their values as well. So here we've got a couple of different policies, and I would like you to have a little think about which of the parties I just spoke about said this policy. So here, every young person should study maths until 18. Which of the political parties here, Conservative, Green, Labour, Liberal Democrat, Plaid Cymru, Reform or SNP, said it? Take a little moment to have a think. Every young person should study maths until 18. Conservative, that is a policy put forward by the Conservative Party. The next policy, we should leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Which major political party do you think said it? Have a little think. It is Reform UK. We also have, and this one you may have heard about, it's been talked about a lot in the news over the recent weeks. All young people should do a year of national service in the armed forces or a weekend a month of volunteering when they are 18. Who do you think said it? Have a little think. The Conservative Party, that's what they have recently put forward. Next, young people should be able to vote from the age of 16. Now, obviously, this impacts you very directly. Who do you think said it? Have a little think. This one actually has been supported by quite a few different parties, including Labour, Green Party, Liberal Democrats, SNP and Plaid Cymru, which is very interesting. We also have buses should be free for young people aged 16 to 24. Which party said it? Have a little think. The answer is Plaid Cymru, which is a party that stands in Wales. And we also have, finally, our final policy we'll look at this morning is university should be free. Which party said it? The answer is the Green Party. So as you can see, there are lots of different political parties with lots of different opinions, all about the same issue. So one issue may have lots of different perspectives from different parties. So hopefully, as you look through and learn more about different parties, you'll find a party that reflects your values. Excuse me. So you might be asking, who can actually vote in the upcoming UK general election? Now, the great news is if you are 18 or over, and if you are a British, resident Irish, or resident qualifying Commonwealth citizen, and you have registered to vote, congratulations, you can vote. It's very exciting. If you are not sure if you're able to vote, please scan this QR code, and that will take you through to some FAQs, and will answer generally as well any questions that may pop up in your brain during this presentation. So how do you register to vote? Is a very important part of the voting process. Now, this is something we will come to later on as well. So if you don't get a chance to register now, you can do that later on. But I encourage you right now to grab your phone and scan this QR code. This is the moment to get engaged. This is the moment in which you can make your voice heard. And the good news is it just takes 5 minutes to register. All you need is where you live, so your address, your date of birth, your name, your nationality, and your national insurance number. Now, your national insurance number is a number that would have been either emailed or posted to you when you were 16. If you have a job, this will be something that's on your payslip as well. But the good news is you can register without your national insurance number. So if you're sitting there right now going, I've got all the other information, but I don't have my national insurance number, Doesn't matter. Grab your phone, scan this QR code, and you can begin the exciting process of registering to vote and making your voice heard. Now, the registration date, the deadline for registration is Tuesday, the 18th of June. So as you can see, it's really not far away. So as I've said, grab your phone and scan that QR code now, and let's get you registered and let's get your voice heard. As I mentioned, we will come back to this at the end of the presentation. So if you don't get a chance to do it now, do not despair. There are different ways in which you can vote once you have got your registration sorted. You can go down to the polling station on the 4th of July in person. You can cross a box and make sure your opinion is heard. You can also vote by post or by proxy. Now, asking someone to vote by proxy just means asking someone to go in and vote on your behalf. So there are lots of different ways to vote and make sure your voice is heard. Now, when you vote, you will need a form of photo ID. This could be a provisional driving license, or it could be a full license if you are lucky enough to have passed your driving test. It could also be a UK passport, and there are a couple of other different options there as well. This is something that has been introduced in during the recent electoral cycle. So actually, if you go to vote with any adults, maybe your parents or carers, they may not know they need to bring their ID. So this is a bit of political information you can wow them with as you remind them to bring along their ID, as this is now a requirement of the voting process. You might be unsure if you have the right documentation, or maybe you don't have any ID at all. The good news is you can still vote if you don't have an ID, but you do need to apply for a free voter ID document. This is called the Voter Authority Certificate. The deadline for this is the 26th of June. So again, don't leave this too late. Let's get this done. You can scan your QR code just here now and get that documentation to enable you to vote. You can also apply for a free ID. This is something that is actually really popular amongst young people, which can be really useful for the election, but also in general. So I'd encourage you to look at the citizen card. This is an accepted form of voter ID. It's also recognised by different shops, and you can use it to be verified online. So please scan this QR code if you are interested in a free ID called the citizen card. Now, you might be asking as well about, okay, I'm interested, I think I'll register, but how can I find out more information about the candidates and the parties? Great news. You can scan this QR code here, and this will take you to some non-partisan organisations and links that will give you information about the candidates in your area. So we've got the Who Can I Vote For? We've also got the voting counts. You can also write to some of your local representatives if you'd like. And also, I encourage you to look at the Democracy Classroom website. So if you go on democracyclassroom.com/FAQs, you can find loads of information on there that will hopefully answer any questions you have. So here are some of the key dates for the upcoming general election. As we know, the general election was called on the 22nd of May. You've got the voter registration deadline on the 18th of June. We've also got the postal vote deadline on the 19th of June, so just a day afterwards. We can see as well the deadline for the voter authority certificate and the deadline for the proxy vote as well, 26th of June, and then the election day itself on the 4th of July. Now, as you can see, it can be a bit confusing that all these dates are at different times. Find out what works for you, what ID you need, which way you would like to vote, and make sure everything is done in plenty of time. That's why I'd encourage you to get as much stuff done today as possible. So it really is important that you get your voice heard as a young person in the UK. So this is my call to you. Wherever you are at the moment, I believe very strongly, as does the Politics Project, that your voice matters. Whatever you vote for in this upcoming election, will impact you right now, but also for your future. If you do not speak up for what you believe in, who will? Make sure that what you believe in is heard. Make sure your MP represents you. Make sure that the issues you care about are debated and discussed. You can have an impact. You can make a change. And that's why I'm going to ask you once more to grab out your phone and register to vote. You can scan this QR code here right now. I'm going to play a video here to show you how easy the process is. Here we go. So this is just a live scroll of the website to show you how easy it is. As you are hopefully registering to vote, I'm just going to answer a couple of common questions that we get whilst you're doing that. Your name. When you register, you need to use your legal name. So this is not a nickname or perhaps a chosen name you have given yourself. It needs to be the name that is across your legal documents, okay? It's really important that you register with that. Also, I'd like to talk to you about the open register. When you are registered to vote, you are enrolled into the electoral register. Everyone's name and address goes onto the full register of the electoral register, and you can't opt out of that. That's just something that has to be done. However, there is something called the open register. Now, the open register contains the same information as the electoral register, but it's not used for elections or referendums. The open register can be, the data can be sold to any person, organisation or company for a wide range of purposes. So if you wish to opt out of that open register, you are free to do so. And this will not impact your right to vote. Okay, so you can either opt in or opt out. That's absolutely fine, but it does not change your right to vote. And finally, I think I've said this about 8,000 times already, but let's make it 8,001. You can register without your national insurance number, okay? Do not let that be a barrier to stop you from registering today and hopefully eventually going on to the process of voting on the 4th of July. Now, I really want to thank you for listening to me today. As you can see, I'm incredibly passionate about politics, and I really believe it's important that you guys get your voice heard. So I'd like to say thank you for listening to me. And I'm going to leave you here with the QR code. So if you haven't gone through that process of registering to vote, you are able to do so. I hope you have a really lovely day. And thanks again for listening to me. I've been Sarah Hailstones, and I'm talking to you on behalf of the Politics Project. Thank you very much for listening.